What's up, guys? Welcome back to Make It and Break It. My name's Andrew, and today we're doing a DIY on a kind of common sport bike thing. How to install a side stand eliminator, or how to eliminate your side stand sensor, really is what we're looking at here. So this is my Project HyperTenere. It used to be, it still is a 1999 Yamaha R6, but it's really not going to be much R6-like here relatively soon, because we're taking this bike, which is my first motorcycle ever, and we're taking it from a sport bike that's really good on the street, really good in corners and everything, and getting rid of some of that and making it into a really high-powered, fun, twitchy adventure bike. So why am I installing a side stand eliminator on it? Well, I'm actually keeping the side stand. I just want to get rid of the sensor. One, to increase some of the clearance down there. A lot of the clearances are pretty close for stuff we're doing. But the main reason I'm getting rid of it is because it's a sensor that's right near all the rocks and wood and things that'll come up, and if they break it, what it can actually do is cause our bike to not work. So that's really bad if you're out in the middle of nowhere and your bike won't turn on or go into gear because your bike thinks your kickstand is down. So we're gonna get rid of that. But this mod is also very applicable on regular sport bikes, super sports, everything else, especially ones that go to the track. Because oftentimes tracks and track days and races, they'll require you to remove your side stand or your kickstand for safety reasons. And if you don't have a way to eliminate your bike thinking the kickstand switch is down and you're in gear, you can't actually ever get the bike started for your track day. So this is applicable to people who are doing crazy stuff like me, or your standard everyday sports rider who wants to go out to a track day. So come on over to this side and I'll walk you through the steps. All right, so we're over here looking at our kickstand side of the bike. These things are not normal production, these are 3D printed. If you want to see the process for designing all this stuff, there's another video, I'll link it here. But this stuff is mostly stock. This is a modified spring to clear this, but otherwise, my kickstand, other than actually currently lacking the sensor, is stock. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you're eliminating your kickstand or eliminating your kickstand sensor is actually pull your kickstand off, because most sensors on these bikes are designed to take as few hits as possible. So you're going to want to pop your kickstand off. That might be 1 or 2 bolts, depending on your kickstand design. This one, I actually have to put it down to access the second bolt here, and we'll pop this thing off here. This thing's only in here loosely because I've been test fitting all this stuff for a custom bike, but these will be a little bit harder if this is your regular setup and you haven't ever pulled this off before. Now, most bikes then will have the sensor on the back side here. In this case, this is a 1999 Yamaha R6. The sensor normally is right here, and there's a little thing right here to actuate and push a plunger. In fact, I'll grab the sensor real quick and you can see where it will sit. So back here, the sensor will normally sit something like this. You can see how gunky that thing is, that's terrible. So it'll sit normally like this, and there will be a little arm here that goes and presses this plunger down. This is the sensor itself. This is what tells the bike everything's closed and you're good to go. So you're going to want to access your sensor and remove it however you need to remove it. In this case, for a 99 Yamaha R6, there's 2 small bolts. I think these were even Phillips head bolts right here and here for these holes. And you want to remove that away from your kickstand, because this is the part that's gonna screw you up. So at that point, you're gonna have a sensor like this hanging off the end of this big long wire that runs up the side of your bike. So this is where, at this point, you've got your kickstand off and sensor off your kickstand. This is where things change depending on how you're going to use it. If you're crazy like me and taking your sport bike off-road for no good reason, or you're turning your sport bike or your super sport into a track bike and you pretty much won't need your kickstand sensor ever again, even if you might leave the kickstand on just for sanity's sake, you can actually cut the kickstand sensor off like I've done here. And so that's just a quick, you know, snip with scissors and stuff like that, and this thing comes off. The differences come in is if you want to maintain your sensor at some point or another. Let's say this is your regular riding around bike for fun that you ride around the street and you want the kickstand sensor, but you go to a track day and you have to have the kickstand off. Well, you can do a couple things for that. One, you can trace the line, and we'll go show you where that is, and disconnect it and install a jumper like we're gonna do here. Or you can actually put a jumper somewhere in your line that's cut here, and make it like a separation. So you put a connection somewhere in your line that you then can disconnect and remove the entire sensor assembly with your kickstand. That requires a little bit of electrical work, but it's not too bad, and you can pretty much just crimp. You barely need to solder. So at this point, the plans diverge. So if you're making it a track bike and you pretty much don't need your kickstand sensor anymore, your side stand sensor, what you can do is cut it, and I've cut it off pretty far away just so I could run the wires and figure out where they go. It makes it a lot easier if I have more wire to mess around with. But you can cut it, and then all you have to do is close the sensor loop. So the way the sensor works is when this plunger is depressed, it connects the two wires. It connects the positive and negative running into it and out of it. So all you have to do is spoof the computer to think these two wires are connected, and it will always think your kickstand is up. So there's a couple ways to do that. One is to take this wire, and then I've actually already pulled it up a little bit because I was trying to figure out where it goes. You take this wire and split it, and then solder the two ends together, and that is a semi-permanent removal there, because you can desolder or cut the soldered end off and reinstall a kickstand sensor and kickstand later if you want to. Or you can pull the entire sensor and sensor loom out, and then you can install a jumper like we're going to use here. So what we're going to use is a Woodcraft side stand Eliminator jumper. You could make this yourself. It's a pretty easy jumper to make. I just didn't have time and wanted to order one and use it. And Woodcraft is one of the few manufacturers out there that makes stuff for this bike because it's so old. So at this point, you need to either get this thing set up and out of the way or get it pulled. So we're going to pull it, so I'm going to show you where to go for that. All right, this is really cramped in here. So at this point, you're gonna wanna trace your wire up. So this is the wire I cut off here, and I'm tracing it up, and it comes in right here behind the frame. So a lot of sport bikes will have this, and they'll have a lot of wire connections underneath your gas tank. So you're gonna actually wanna pull your gas tank bolts and lift her up. So this is where it'll change between all of your bikes. My bike has a bunch of connections on this side of the frame and on that side of the frame, so you have to trace your wire back. In this case, there is a blue wire connection right here that is the connection for the sensor, and I know that because of the way I cut this. So I cut this pretty long, and this bike is really old, so the tubing is not like modern standards of shrunk onto the wire, so there's a little bit of room here, and so I pulled the wire here out of its sleeving just enough to tell that it was in fact pulling out of this sleeving here. So that let me know that this was the connection I want. So at this point, we just gotta disconnect it, pull it on out, and put in our new jumper. And then trash everything you don't need again. Ta-da! And it's pretty much that simple. So this will go in here and it snaps right in, and this is the little wire that connects the loop, closes the loop. So now the computer thinks the side stand is up, even though the side stand's not even attached right now. So it's really that easy, actually. So if you're setting up your track bike, or you're being an idiot like me and taking a bike off-road that's really not meant to, it's pretty easy to go eliminate your side stand and eliminate that problem. And it really is that easy to remove your side stand and make sure your bike still functions properly without any sort of reliability issues. So hopefully you guys found that useful and interesting, especially you sport bike guys out. I know you go to track days all the time, and some of the information out there about side stands is kind of hard to find. So I want to make a quick video for you guys just to show you how it's done. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked it, go ahead and dislike it. And tell me why if you do dislike it, so I know what to do better in the future. Questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the comments down below. I do respond to everyone I see, so if you have anything, throw it down there and we'll have a chat. If you like what we're doing on this channel, we do car and motorcycle builds like this HyperTenere project where we're taking an R6 and turning it into a dirt bike. Or our Doritos Locos project, where we're taking a standard street going RX-8, blowing up the engine once on a track day, and then turning it into a true track car. At least that's the idea. We also do some 3D printing, as you saw down, and some how-tos and DIYs to help out the community there, especially when we find that there's some lacking information. So if any of that stuff sounds good to you, sounds interesting, definitely hit subscribe and ding that bell icon so you get notified when we put out a new video. So thanks for watching, everyone. My name's Andrew. This has been Naked and Break It. That sounds awesome. This has been another Make It and Break It YouTube video, and I'll catch y'all later.